Hello and welcome to Strange Stories. It's great to have you here. We are all about sharing stories of near-death experiences from around the world in the hopes of bringing some light and inspiration to your day. Our daily videos offer a glimpse into what lies beyond this life, and we believe that they can help us all appreciate the gift of life a little bit more. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to grow. And to our returning viewers, welcome back. We're thrilled to have you with us again. So go ahead, grab a cozy blanket, get comfy, and join us for today's incredible near-death experience story.
I'm Ragnar Eriksson, Odin's Call, as you can see. That's my other hobby, but I was requested to tell my narrative, what happened to me during an exciting, unusual near-death experience. It was an eventful day, to say the least. I'd spent the majority of the day with a good friend. We were living in Germany at the time. My stepfather served in the army, so my friend and I had been hanging out at a small local bar near their place. And well, it's Germany, so you can order a drink over the counter and it's not a huge deal. So we drank a few drinks. Nobody was drunk when it was, 11 o'clock or something. We decided it was time to go home. We began going back towards his house, which is located in a fairly remote region. So there's a lot of just vast open, no streets, no street lights, but we'd come off the road and were walking across the field, I believe, to take a shortcut back to his house. And I felt something give just a little bit beneath me for a split second, and I kind of heard an audible crack. And it was then that I realized I wasn't walking through a field. I was strolling across some sort of brook. I was, in fact, walking on ice. I instantly came to a halt and began to consider, how do I change my body and spread out my weight and possibly save myself from collapsing? Because I had no idea how deep it was. And I was under the ice as soon as I had that notion. In retrospect, that was 30 seconds of fear. I had no time to catch my breath or prepare for what was about to unfold. I was there recently and it was quite deep. And I felt myself being dragged along by the flow of the water, but I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black out in rural Germany, and I was beneath ice with a layer of snow on top of it. There were probably 15, 20, 25 seconds of effort before I knew my body was going to force me to try to breathe at some point. And yeah, that's when my body made me try to breathe. And I drank from 2 lengthy falls of unclean creek water. It was quite disgusting. And well, it wasn't long after that. I was absolutely unconscious within 2 or 3 seconds. And this is where things started to get weird for me, because I can only express what happened in this experience in metaphorical terms. There's no way for me to tell you, I saw this, I felt this, I experienced this. This thing touched me. None of this was possible since I lacked an eye. I had no eyes, ears, nose, mouth, or nerve endings. So let me preface this by emphasizing that this experience was neither visual or tangible in any manner. It was simply changing from one plane of existence to another with it, with the continuity of consciousness, which was staggeringly fascinating at the moment. I wasn't scared in the least. I was no longer terrified when I had a lungful of water. So to use a metaphor I've used a million times, it was like the light went out and there was nothing in every direction around me, 360 degrees every which way. Then it was as if a light went on. And that's when I was simply inundated with more information than anyone could ever digest all at once. It was exhausting. It felt as if, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, I was experiencing everything that has ever occurred and everything that will ever happen all at once. Every idea every human being had ever had, every little movement of a digit, it was all simply flowing past me, into me, through me, and around me at the same time. And I got the feeling at the moment that everything was fine. This doesn't make sense currently, but I'm sure it will in a second. And as an aside, I spent a significant length of time in this state, what felt like hours, and it was fine. I was at peace because I had returned to whatever the source was. As I began to feel like, I'm almost there, I'll get it for you. And I feel like this is me, like I'm about to disconnect from my body. I heard a voice say, not yet, and I awoke on the top of the ice, vomiting creek water everywhere from that trance-like state. The strange thing was that the act of going out and the act of waking up were far worse than the experience I experienced while in that area, whatever that place was. I almost felt disappointed, but only because my curiosity had gotten the best of me after seeing what I believe is the definition of eternity, which is everything all at once. And it was, since my pal had apparently recognized he couldn't bring me out from under the ice, and he had no idea where I was. He was scraping snow away, attempting to get a visual representation of where I was, and he allegedly observed a car driving and hurried across to the road where the car was coming at almost exactly the same moment. That person also happened to be a paramedic. We can look into that whenever we want. I guess someone arrived at just the perfect time, and they had punched through the ice, and the kick through the ice had brought me out. The most bizarre aspect of this entire incident is that I was taken to the hospital. I spent an hour at the hospital. My body temperature had returned to normal. I experienced no long-term consequences from this encounter, at least that I'm aware of physically, such as cognitive loss or loss of brain function. I was perfectly fine. I was entirely normal again. And the physicians were astounded. They were just, "This makes no sense." Or, in their German accent, "This makes no sense." But it was entertaining having all of these people around me going, "I don't know how you're even alive right now," let alone, well, it was a strange experience. And I spent the next few days dealing with some fluid on my lungs and still coughing up some stuff that wasn't enjoyable. But physically, I was great. And the most important takeaway from this entire event, and this contradicts what many people have stated about their near-death experiences, and I don't want to dismiss what anyone else has encountered in their path at all, but it has instilled in me greater compassion and understanding of other people. That is, in fact, one of the items I brought back with me. And one of the other frequently asked questions I get is, what changed? The largest thing that altered for me was my perception of time. I believe we've all experienced existence as a line, a linear development from one period to another, and that it's a finite thing. My trip to whatever this was taught me that time is not at all linear. It's just how we're obliged to interpret things in these bodies. It's a different sensation than I've had with whatever our true consciousness is. Something for us to learn or simply experience things in a different way than we should in our natural state outside of these bodies. Time now appears to me like a globe or sphere, as if time simply passes. Distance no longer exists because the only thing that separates two places, the only distance between 2 points, is the time it takes to go from one point to another. Distance no longer matters in the absence of time. All constraints vanish in the absence of distance. You can meet anyone, interact with anyone, and have whatever experiences you want. And I think one of the most significant things about this is that I recognized how little our little house is. Not only our bodies, but also the entire globe. In the absence of distance, I got the impression that a thought could transport me to the other side of the universe. There would have been no need for action. And it really highlighted how insignificant most of us are at the end of the day. And it instilled in me a desire to live my life to the fullest and help others to the point that I can appreciate their lives and to the best of my ability, give folks a sense of peace about whatever comes after. Because I knew that my experience was changing to the point that I realized I was in a whole other condition. It bears no resemblance to whatever this is. However, it is still me, and I'm a part of something far bigger than myself, and I'm simply a small, tiny, insignificant part of it. A part of something far larger, where everything is shared by everyone at the same time throughout history. And when I say everyone, I don't simply mean humans, at least not in their current form. There are extremely real, knowledgeable, and old consciousnesses out there. All of this is contained inside this unique oneness, and my sole desire in this world is to enjoy what I have, and at some point, I hope to return to see the rest of the things that I missed, whenever that moment arrives. And hopefully not anytime soon for me or any of you. In my opinion, we elected to be here. In my perspective, we want to be here.